Johnson Sirleaf. And let's now cross directly over to Dr. BROPLEH and his guest, former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Greetings. Greetings to all my mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers. Greetings to my aunt Ding Somerville in Upper Buchanan, Grand Bassa County. The Bassa people call it Gozon, even though my aunt Ding Somerville is in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, the United States. Greetings to my father people on the beautiful shores of Grand Cess in Grand Crew County. Greetings, dear friends, wherever you are throughout the length and breadth of Liberia and elsewhere. This is your program, The Liberian Renaissance. Changing minds aren't changing attitudes. Here we say not ethnicity, but nationality. Not individualistic attitudes, but rather the we consciousness, we the people residing in Liberia, determined to make a constructive difference. I'm Larry BROPLEH, along with Ruben Dolly, and we are privileged to have with us former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, someone who needs no introduction, world acclaimed, who has done so much for our country and for women and people across the world. We are blessed to have her in this continuation of our 177th birth anniversary of the Republic of Liberia. Madam President, welcome. And I'd like to start this by saying, as the hymnist penned, earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot heal. I know that losing your son, Charles, a consummate professional, has to be difficult, but you're a woman of deep and abiding faith in God. How are you?
Thank you, Larry. I'm glad to be here, and I'm well. Certainly, it's an indescribable pain that I have that only God can cure for the loss of two of my oldest sons. But I also applaud their life of service as professionals in both the public and private sectors in our country and elsewhere. So I'll continue to rely on God, as I said, to heal the pain. Let me use this occasion to say thank you to all of those, the current president, the former president, Chief Justice, members of the Judiciary, the Speaker, member of the House, who attended or visited the site of my second son, Charles, and to thank all of those who stood by me in one way or the other. I want them to know that I'm deeply grateful for that. And the date has passed, but I hope it was a joyful Independence Day for everyone.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm sure it was a joyous day, not without a bit of controversy. And we will talk a little bit about that. But, Madam President, I'm truly not amazed at your love and patriotism for Liberia, for you have demonstrated same par excellence over the years. Now, last Friday, Liberia turned 177 years as an independent nation. Do we really have anything to celebrate?
Oh, yes, Larry. We have everything to celebrate. Celebrate the resilience we've shown as a nation after almost 2 decades of civil conflict. The fact that today we can boast of having not only the first democratic elected woman president in Africa, but also 2 democratic transitions. We can be thankful that our nation is paused through the process of reconstruction to be able to have a much better future. And so let's celebrate that which we have. And I think it's something that we all not only must benefit from, but we must also contribute to. If we do that, I think our future is certain. So we should continue to do what we can to celebrate that which we have and not so much complain about what we don't have.
Yeah, talking about complaining, Madam, were you at the official celebrations?
No, I was not.
Because the oration that was written and delivered by a young woman whom you helped to nurture, Dr. Robtel Paley, in whom many of us are well pleased, had less than a paragraph that talked about the United States relationship to Liberia, and it brewed a lot of controversy, up and down, positive and negative talk. Have you had a chance to read any of that or listen to the speech?
Oh, Larry, there's a whole lot of hullabaloo about this. It was the indisputable truth in much of what she said. Sometimes it's not what you say, but the way that you say it that offends. So I believe, there's too much talk. Let us just see if there are good suggestions in the speech, as I think there are. We should see how those suggestions can be put to work. Let me say this. I listened to another interview by Dr. Bailey, in which she expressed the view that one of her childhood dreams was to become the first woman president in Africa. I hope I heard that interview correctly. And if indeed it is, I wish she would not give up on that dream, that she should also see the opportunity at her age to continue to pursue that which will give her what she needs for the changes that she wants.
I mean, Madam, clearly I know Raptel for many, many years, and she's outstandingly brilliant. And I've said to a few people who reach out to me for my opinion, and I've said to them, this speech had a lot of things in there that help us to reimagine a Liberia on a better path, or at least putting us back on track, talking about the fight against corruption and the lack of excitement in public service on the part of people who go to public service for self-aggrandizement. So the speech was rich with a lot of things.
Larry, I just said, much of what was said are the indisputable truths.
Yeah.
Let's accept it for what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Madam, you led this nation out of a valley of despair to a buoyancy of new hope. For you took over at a time when our nation had been shattered and broken, failed governments, conflictual circumstances. Where we are now at 177 years, what can you say to us as it relates to Liberia's growth and development? Are we on the path?
I believe we have been on this path for several years. There have been missteps, detours, but we're still on the path. And we do have our natural resources. We do have our human resources that coming together can really build the Liberia that we want. But it doesn't come from talk. It comes from action. And action not only by those who govern, but those who are governed. What that means, there's a contribution from those who lead the nation, but there's also equal responsibilities from those who are led by those who lead the nation. And I think sometimes we forget that responsibility for success does not rest just with whoever is in charge of the country or whichever executive it is. The responsibility for progress rests with each and every one of us in our own sphere, with our own capacity, in our own determination to have a better nation.
And
See,
in
you're
that,
quiet. You don't like the answer, right?
no, I do. I'm contemplative.
Contemplative.
Having you is always a joy.
Okay, Larry.
So, having said that, governance in our country's history have always been plus and minuses. It depends on who you talk to. And do you feel that in terms of our governance structure, that we are proceeding correctly, or at least on the path that will lead us upward in a firm way? Because the debate most of the time is that, well, yes, the governed have got responsibility, but the governors must lead the way. And in the mindset of some of the people, the governors may be going left rather than going right.
You know, we're on a path that started at the end of the civil conflict. That started with the Accra Peace Accord and all the structures that followed the agreement to that accord. And we've made considerable progress. As I said, we have had some missteps. We have had, you may even say in certain cases, some failures here and there on one aspect along the path of the other. But it's still a path that we must continue using the overall vision that we all have embraced, whether it's through the Constitution or through the laws or through different party agenda, that there's a commonness in that path. And that path is equity, equal opportunity, justice for all. I'm not saying we have achieved that. Very few countries have. But certainly we can continue to move in that direction. Continuity has value. And many times we deter from a path on which we have started. And we find ourselves deteriorating and causing some of the successes that we have had to be undermined. And it takes us much longer to recover. And so I do hope that we will continue along that common agenda of trying to make sure that, yes, integrity becomes one of our greatest goals, and we haven't been able to solve that yet. The capacity to be able to carry out our own agenda, to do the functions of our professional work is always a problem. Our discipline, all of those are the things I hope that we will be discussing sometime so that we begin to look at where indeed we have made success, where indeed we need to put additional effort in what we do to achieve the vision that we have set.
Many will argue that part of Africa's problem, and of course Liberia's problem, is that when a new government comes to power, that government seems to want to take on its quote unquote own agenda, its own phraseology that seems to be catchy and hesitant for continuity, as you have mentioned before, in moving the country forward. And some have argued that the hesitancy to pick up, quote unquote, the good that the previous administration may have done and to carry on is part of our failure in struggling with the governance issues.
Well, I think I'll say much of what I said before, that every government, particularly new ones, have a vision. And they have every right to pursue a vision that's been established by their group or by their party. However, continuity is an important element of success. So what one does is to find out in those things that have worked, those things that have made a difference for the success that we have, how can we use them? How can we improve upon them? How can we align them with new ideas, new strategies, new endeavors? That's how one builds. Just like you're building a house, the more you do about building upon your good roots, that's how you build your walls, and that's how you achieve the strength of your building. And I hope the more we try to do that, I think the stronger will be the effort that we make to improve the country, to get the sustainable development that we want, not development that comes and goes because it falters, because we've not been able to stay on course, to use that which we have done with improvement. I hope that that will be the way any government approaches the path to success.
You're listening to the Liberian Renaissance, changing minds and changing attitudes here on ELBC 89.9, 99.9, and other frequencies across the country, and also on ELBC Radio Online. We've got with us in studio, we're privileged to have former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and we are discussing a myriad of issues that relates to Liberia's growth and development. And you can participate by texting, sending me text messages on 077440000, 077440000, or 0886 546 166, 0886 546 166. Those numbers are also on WhatsApp, and so you can send me messages as we continue this 1 hour, and we're going to use every minute of this 1 hour. Madam President, Liberia at 177 is a significant milestone. Do you feel that at 177, Liberians are patriotic? Are they holding on to that which have brought us thus far?
That's a tough one to answer. I do believe that Liberians are patriotic. Just look at what we've been through. Look at the conflicts we've had. Look at the destruction we've faced. Look at the disappointments that we've had historically as well as currently. And that resilience have enabled us to move forward, to continue to make progress. Yeah, there have been issues. Yeah, there have been a lot of downfalls. But I see in Liberia that strength of purpose, that strength and determination
Mm.
of wanting to have a better nation. Like I say, but it only works when we all are committed to be able to make it work by our own action, actions of honesty, action of work, action of discipline. This is what other nations do that have come to achieve a high level of success. And I think as patriots, all of us, we must again make that commitment to ourselves first, commitment to our groups, commitment to our organizations and institutions, commitment to authority, and commitment to country. If you don't have that and you're not willing to do that, then I don't think we achieve the goals that we have set.
And the debate is out that some characteristics that will lend itself to Liberians not being patriotic is the act of corruption, this corruptibility. In the last few days and week, we've been dealing with some of that. And what what do you think, Madam President, that we can again try to do to minimize corruption in our country? Because it's you described it previously as a vampire, though you try so hard to fight or create the culture of honesty and purpose in the government, but it seems like it's eluding us. You're an expert.
Well, this has been a time bound issue for Liberia. We have continued to address it. We have not been successful totally. I know we tried sometimes to put in the systems. We try to make sure that prevention is better than cure by making sure that we talk about what it takes for honesty, how corruption undermines nations' progress. We sometimes are surprised at how deep it is, sometimes right around us in our own settings,
Mm.
in our own groupings, in our own organizations. But it's a fight that we must continue. Any effort that exposes it, any effort that addresses it to punishment are all part of what it takes to address this. But we must go further than that. We must start in the schools. We must start with the young people, the primary schools, talking about what integrity means. What are the values of honesty? How it affects the country. What part we each have to play to try to address this time issue, time-bound issue for us in our country. I know we try. We use systems, we use institutions, and we hope that those efforts again will continue and be improved upon. Education is a lot to be said for addressing corruption because those who are educated are able to defend their rights, to defend their principles, and to be able to take care of themselves so that they don't have to depend on others or have to find themselves drifting into practices like dishonesty. It's an issue that we all must talk about and find different approaches to finding a solution. It may not be a quick fix, but we want to see progress over time. And I think that's going to be our challenge, is how do we put in those measures, those laws, those particular educational, those consciousness thoughts, those discussions. How can we then begin to measure that we see improvement over time? And that the younger ones, as they come up, will have changed minds and change attitudes because they will see the value of integrity, the value of honesty, and what it does to make the nation that they want.
The value of integrity, the value of honesty in getting our nation to where it needs to be. We're in conversation with former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We're at the halfway mark, and I've got a few text messages, and I'm just going to read them as they have come. Good afternoon, Madam President. My name is Cyrus Derry Kwiwan for Nimba County. Congratulations to you for putting Liberia on the map nationally. We pray that JNB and JKK will follow your footsteps again. May God protect you. Let us all pray for peace. This one says, the message today with Madam President is very fruitful. Hi, my name is Christian Malba. I'm texting you from Bunk County. I want to say thanks to our mother, the leader who stands by her word. Mother, thanks very much for what you continue to do for Liberia. Good day, Mama. My name is Tienesio Festus Banks. I'm so sorry for the loss of your son. You've suffered a lot, but God is with you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to listen to my former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf from Timothy B. Glibble. I write from SKD Community ELWA. Let me take one more and then we'll come back to Madame. I think you answered this, but I read it anyway. Dr. BROPLEH asked the former president that she supports the fight against corruption as being observed by the current corruption fight, which is being undertaken by her former vice president, now President Joseph Boyka, that she support this endeavor. My name is Washington T. Tape Washington. She's already answered that question. My name is Sir Jonathan Faya from Foya. What advice can Madam Sirleaf give JNP and JKK administration considering its 6 months in power? We'll come to that. Just some of the text messages, Madam, any comments towards any one of them?
A lot of them were laudatory.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So I do want to thank them for their comments. Like you say, the one that had been answered is I do support any action that's going to address and fight corruption. So,
Absolutely.
But, greetings to all of you.
Yeah. Madam President, you continue to be an icon across the world for change and transformation democratically. What is your suggestion for the Joe Boyka administration to help move our nation forward?
I believe the vision, as I understand it, is the right one.
Mm-hmm.
But to succeed in achieving the goals of that vision requires a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment and dedication. And most of all, making sure that people see themselves as public servants, carrying out their functions with dignity, with honesty, and with total commitment. I mentioned before that continuity has value. Using the good things that those before you have done and building upon them, making them even better while you align them with new ideas, new approaches, new policies, new laws, all coming together gives you a consolidated path toward the achievement of national vision. And I hope people will see this in this light.
Well, yeah, that's your hope. Remember, this is your party.
For true, and
Yeah,
you swear?
as well.
Go ask them.
Let me ask you, have they re-enlisted you?
Oh, I'm looking for a letter.
I can be a lawyer to make sure we.
But no. Let me just put it this way. It's a party I birthed, so I remain it. It may detour from time to time. When you come back,
Yeah.
it has to.
Any particular recommendations
On what?
for the forward march of the
Country?
government?
Yeah, the country is marching. Everything's marching forward.
Are
We
you
check out some small thing that can stop it, Yeah, let all Liberia talk now.
are you satisfied with the quality of the appointment of government?
I frankly don't know it all.
Okay.
I can't express an opinion on something I don't know.
You don't know Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? Don't know
I know a few
That's a
individuals
first.
and a few personalities, but I can't
in
tell
whom
you.
you're well
Yeah,
pleased
but I can't
so
tell
far?
you that. Oh yes, those that I know, some of whom I think are just the right ones to do the right jobs, but many I don't know, and I don't want an opinion on something I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. This is your program, The Liberian Renaissance, changing minds and changing attitudes. Time flies when you're having fun. We've got 20 minutes to go. Let's take a few more text messages before we start to wind down. Good evening, Madam and Dr. BROPLEH. I'm happy to always listen to the program, Changing Minds and Changing Attitudes. One thing I learned from this message is about the idea of continuity. We are a one Liberia. Our goal is Liberia. I also admire your view relating to the speech of our orator. We should accept it as it is. We just need total commitment to move Liberia forward. Thanks for the appearance on the show this evening. Solomon W. Peters, Buchanan, Grand Bassa County. All right, that's one vote I got next time I'm running. Thanks, Madam Former President, and I am Moses Sarr from Bomi County. Madam Sirleaf, what do you make of the decision of America, I don't want to say the CDA, walking out during the deliverance of the oration by Dr. Pele? May or may not answer that, Madam host. Yeah. What say you about that?
That's it? You're waiting for me to answer?
Yeah.
I don't meddle in other people's country business. No, actually, I think it's just an unfortunate event. And again, just like we accepted that was a great occasion, it had these diversions. That's part of what we all face when we have public events. And again, we have to take it as what it is and move on.
Yeah. My name is Anthony Gray from Grand Cru. Greetings to the family of ELBC and greetings to our mother. I want to use this time to appreciate our ex-president for her continuous contribution to our economic growth and development. One of the policies he adopted was under Her agenda was decentralization. This policy indeed had the propensity to push our country to the global community. However, with the coming and the text is broken. Sorry, sir. It didn't come through clearly. Good evening, Mr. BROPLEH. This is Aaron Escofa. I'm watching you from Maryland County. And thank you ever so much for the show and for making me to see and listen to my beloved party leader once more. The woman of substance, integrity, good morals, who try in her weak way to restructure this country after this senseless war. Indeed, the topic is essential for Liberia to rethink. All right, let's wind down. Madam President, the world still sees you as a global icon. The world for peace, for women's development across Africa and the world. What have you been up to in terms of your presidential center for women empowerment and across Africa?
Oh, dear Larry, if I try to tell it all, it would be very difficult. It would take a long time because my work is largely international.
Exactly.
But with a clear focus of not leaving my commitment to Liberia behind. So whatever I do, I'm sure it reflects on Liberia. And I dare say that it provides help for Liberia. I do work with the United Nations Secretary General on different aspects of the things we do. I do sit on several boards. I am a part of different organizations that are promoting different things that have to do with changes in the global architecture. I work with some of the African Union former presidents' institutions. And coming back to the center, I've committed myself to promoting the ascendancy of women to higher positions of leadership in public service. And today we have over 42 women in 19 African countries that are pursuing their joining, their public service joining. And these are women who have already committed themselves and have made sacrifices to hold the positions they are, whether they are in parliament, legislatures, as we call it, whether it's in executive position or in civil service, international organizations. And they're also mentored by women that are either former presidents or those that head major international institutions that work with them. I hope that my dream will be that we'll get the support we need for an African woman house. If we do that, using, the one I talk about, the women, that one is called the Amuje Initiative.
Right.
If all of you can speak Kru, you know what I mean. And so we hope that African Woman House will be able to serve as an exhibit of the memorabilia of the things that women do. In my case, my personal papers, which have already now sitting with Harvard University through an agreement, the presidential papers. It's going to be working. We'll have them coming here to work with the archives here to get those presidential papers properly digitized. So if we're successful in being able to build that, just think that you'll have women convening here. Women from all over the world will be convening here to talk about democracy, to talk about peace, to talk about women leadership, And please look at the data today. We're inspiring women all over the world to stand up through competitive endeavor and take public position, take political positions, take professional positions, leadership roles. That's what we're doing. Through my little effort, I hope I make a contribution. So when I go around, people will recognize me through my op-eds, through my statements, through my remarks at universities or remarks at organizations that either I work for or work with or are invited to do it. It's a tough world in my at my age, but hey, that's all I've ever known is to keep working.
And you don't seem to be seasoned. Now, here is the paradox, Madam President. Across Africa, you seem to continue to touch the lives of population in various countries, and each election that comes, more women are getting elected to the parliament or to the legislature. Conversely, in Liberia, that's not the case. What do you think it is? Because you look at our legislature, you look at the service that you brought, the enthusiasm, yet we have a male dominated legislature after 16 years.
Very true, very disappointing. If I could make a little joke of it, in my time, when I raised this with some male colleagues and say, come on, you guys, we gotta do better for women. They say, oh man, you president, you guys, we hit to the top. What more you want? No, it is disappointing. I think some of our Amuche leaders here, I hope I'll see them move even higher at a faster pace. Women organizations, I hope I need to do more. And I certainly invite women at any time to sit down and palaver with me, as we call it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we can do. But please, here is the issue. It is not a money issue that makes you competitively able and strong to succeed. Most times when you want to, let's get together, the first thing they say, well, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
No. What's in it for you is what you can achieve through your effort, through your commitment. Support comes in different ways. Advocacy, profiling, all of those things. Yes, things take money ultimately, but money must not be the thing that drives it. It's commitment, it's dedication, it's principles that will drive it. Your willingness to go into a community because you want to be competitive. You don't want anybody to give you anything for free.
You didn't get it
You
free.
can do small things in your community that will inspire people, that will draw people to you and will support you. You heard my sighs.
Yeah. Yes.
We just gotta try again. Try what is it? If at first you don't succeed, try again. That's what I did.
Sticking with Africa and talking about empowerment of women and all that, but with the events in Uganda, in Kenya, in Nigeria, these are major countries in Africa. Are we losing our grip, perhaps, democratically?
Yes. Part of it may be external. The whole global environment.
Yeah.
uh, is one of disquiet, one of shiftings of alliances and partnerships. Uh, Global cooperation has been undermined by populism and nationalism.
Mm.
And those have also reflected internally on the African situation. Of course, we also have a young population in Africa. It's going to be the youngest
Yeah.
as we go forward past 2030. And the young are rightfully impatient for change, impatient for participation in those decisions that affect their lives. We have to respond because if we don't respond positively through education, through participation, through equal opportunity, then we will face the protests that we see occurring right across not only Africa, but across the world. That's Liberia's challenge because our population is young
Yeah.
and they need education. I hope where I'm working that we're going to have to try to make some difference with that. But that's future plans that I can't talk about now.
Let's stick still with Africa, but let's come to the West African region. Earlier this month, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they were suspended members at the time of the ECOWAS community. They announced their withdrawal from ECOWAS, and they said that it is, in their words, let me find it the right language, a sovereign decision. What do you make of that?
Well, the claim for sovereignty cannot be undermined or cannot be anything but recognized. But I think, first of all, our ECOWAS countries, you know, have an obligation to reach out to try to fix this problem. There may be genuine disappointments, genuine issues that bring dissatisfaction and that causes a response that is unacceptable to the policies and tenets of our regional institution. But it can only be solved through consultation. So I believe that first, the ECOWAS authority and its structure must do everything it can to bring those nations back into the fold. And the African Union
Hmm.
needs to give the support to ECOWAS to make sure that we achieve that objective. The disunity will undermine some of our continental progress
Absolutely.
as we strive to make ourselves competitive globally with all the other continents and the other regions of the world. If we have this disunity that affects some of what we're trying to do to achieve regional integration, a major objective through our continental free trade agreement
Yeah.
that we all see as our major vision for being able to achieve continental unity. If we do not solve that problem, then we'll find ourselves undermining all the things that we've always spoken of in our different organizations.
One will argue, though, that this pronouncement by these three countries is because ECOWAS has said, return your nations to democratic rule. Get away from the military rule. And it may be that this is an easy way out for them.
That's a principle that ECOWAS has stood by long ago. When there's a digression from this, You huddle.
Mhm.
Huddle meaning you come back to a
Yes,
table and talk.
exactly. Exactly.
Is the policy still the effective response to existing circumstances?
Hmm.
And if so, how do we address the digression from the policy? And I think that's the effort that our ECOWAS leaders, the authorities of ECOWAS, will need to address. And I do believe that they are doing so.
Good, madam. This seems to be happening more in West Africa, repetitively.
Our nation is so, our West African environment is so organized.
Yeah.
You know, that's a historical
Mm.
result. And so this is why, we have so many nations trying to, each one struggling for national survival. And that also brings a lot of nationalism and whatnot, and internalization. But that's history. We can't change that. What we can do is address the current circumstances through dialogue, through discussion, through information, through communication, through openness, through participation, bringing the people into some of what is being discussed so that they can feel the consequences of digression. They can feel the rewards of unity. Those are the kinds of conversation we should be having. And you can't find those on Facebook.
No, certainly not. I'm going to let young Ruben Dolly, who's studying to be a medical doctor, but is a strong advocate for changing minds and attitudes. I'm going to let him ask you a question, and then we'll come back and take a few of the text messages and come to you for your final words to our people. Ruben, go ahead.
Warm greetings, Madam President.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm Ruben D. Dolly Jr., a student from the United Methodist University studying biology as major, and my ambition is to become a medical doctor.
Wow.
It is always a pleasure to meet with you on this platform and to ask you this question now. Madam President,
Mhm.
how must Liberians adjust and behave as Liberia is now 177 years and move into the future and beyond?
Hmm.
How many Liberians,
How must Liberians
or how must Liberians
adjust? How must they behave? Now that we're 177, we have the future ahead of us.
Liberians, particularly the young, must recognize that they need to be good patriots,
Hmm.
meaning they must love their country, be able to take a position when necessary on the policies and circumstances of your country, be able to address it, but address it in a manner that still keeps you loving your country, doing what you can for your country, contributing your little bit. Sometimes it doesn't take much. It just takes observing the rules, staying within the law, pursuing an education, remaining honest with what you do, having a work ethics that you can be proud of and dignity that you can. Avoid the types of things that make Liberia look bad, that shame people. Wanton destruction for no reason, out of anger, are the things I hope Liberians will find a way to change. I suggest Liberians must also have a network
Hmm.
with young people in other countries so they can also appreciate and understand some of what the others do that may help to see how they may, if need be, do some changes in minds, in attitude. We do need change in attitudes and mind in Liberia.
Yes, indeed. The voice of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Liberia's former president. And we're winding down a few text messages, and then we'll come to Madame for closing. Dr. BROPLEH, thank you, and thanks to Madame Sirleaf for her past roles. My condolences. This is my contribution. There is no better way to fight corruption other than punishment, period. There should be no sugarcoating about this. Corrupt people must be punished, and if necessary, seize what is possible to pay for the crime. Jimmy Flomo for New Georgia. Jimmy, the law must also take its course. Good evening to our former president. Madam President, our text from Bapolu County. My name is Armand Dukle. Madam President, you will agree with me that accountability has been an old age problem in Liberia today, when people are called to account for the alleged action in public service. People call it witch hunt. What do you have to say about this as a political expert? I'm reading the text messages just as it has come. I'm not doctoring it. This one says, thanks to our former president for being live today and addressing the nation on several issues. I am Reverend Joseph Dalu from Tapeta, Nimba County. This last one here will say, let's see now. Good evening, Doc. I wish to say belated Independence Day to you and Her Excellency, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I have suggested to you, Dr. BROPLEH, that this Changing Minds and Changing Attitude program should be graduated from on radio to Palawa Hut program, because many doesn't listen to radio. Well, that's your opinion. So that the program will achieve its objective. Thanks. I'm Reverend Jah F. Kamo Sinian from Snow Creek or Sino County. We need money to go to Palawa Hut. Madam President, before you come in, yesterday, President and Mistress Joe Boyka celebrated 52 years of marriage. Were you there?
No, I wasn't, but I wasn't invited.
Oh, okay. Well, you have a chance to wish them.
Oh, I do wish them. They've already had a very
yesterday.
happy 50 plus years.
52nd year, 52
I wish
years.
for them God's blessing in 52 more. May they be blessed in everything that they do.
Indeed.
In what the responsibility they have, may God guide them.
Indeed. And so,
happy birthday.
Happy wedding anniversary.
Oh, you see now.
Well, you know Joe Boyka, now 52 years old. And we from Changing Minds and Changing Attitudes wish them as well.
Happy wedding anniversary.
Happy wedding anniversary. And all of God's choices, blessings. Madam, your closing comments.
I just say to all Liberians, we've come a long way. It's been tough some of the times, and it's also been good some of the times. I think we have another opportunity to build upon the good things that God has blessed us with, whether it's natural resources, whether it's individual endeavor. If we can commit ourselves toward the work, the honesty, the commitment and dedication to improve our nation through the little things that you can do, in corruption. Individually, we can show honesty. In work, we can show it in the homes, in our communities, in our churches. It has to be a collective effort of all to achieve the Liberia that I know we all want. A Liberia of justice, of equal opportunity, of progress for us all. May God guide us as we pursue our individual endeavor and our country's overall vision and goals. Thank you all for being a part of this. Larry will do the rest.
And thank you to our audience across the world in Liberia. Thanks to Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Thank you, Madam President, for always availing yourself and giving us indeed words that will help to continue to shape our country. I know for sure that the new administration appreciates the words of wisdom, and we want to encourage all of our people across the country. Keep on pushing. Let's change our minds and attitudes. Let's become more patriotic. At 177 years, we can do it as a nation and as a people. I've been Larry BROPLEH with Ruben Dully, and Madam President has been our guest. Until next time, be an agent of change. This program will be repeated on Saturday at 4 p.m.
Long before the independence of our country, there were people here with different minds and ideas. Now we've joined in. How can we make the right decisions?
Stop forcing your own rules on life.
The Liberian Renaissance, putting you in the right frame of mind with the right